In this video I'm going to run through how you set up the thermal property template for each room. So in a previous video you would have seen how to set up the construction templates. This time I'm going to show you a very similar process, but this time it's about the thermal conditions in the room, not the construction types. So make sure you're in Model It, come up to your building template manager as before, and this time instead of selecting the constructions template type from the menu on the left, come down to thermal conditions and click on that one. Okay. Now when you turn this on for the first time, you're only going to have one template in here. It's called default. I've made a new one called intermittent, so I'm just going to show you how to make a new one from scratch. Select default, come down here to add template, and it will make a copy of the default template. So you can change the name of that by double clicking on it, highlighting it, and just calling it, I'm just going to call it new thermal conditions. Pressing enter. And on the right hand side then you can set up various different items within that template. So what we've got here is we've got the heating, whether the heating is on or off, or whether it's taking its information from a profile. We've also got DHW, which is domestic hot water, and we've got cooling, which again is linked to various different profiles. We've got system, which is to do with the heating and ventilation, air conditioning, internal gains and air exchanges. So what we're going to focus on really here is we're going to focus on the heating and cooling profiles. We're going to focus on adding the internal gains and how to change the air exchanges as well. Now, one of the first things we need to do in this section of the Building Template Manager is to set up our profiles. And profiles are a way of just telling the computer whether something is switched on or switched off. So for example, if I wanted to tell the computer that the room has been occupied between, say, 7 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I can set up a profile for occupancy based on those times. So I'll have a look at that now. Come down to this button here, Apache Profiles Database, and do a left click. Excuse me for a second, that's not going to fit in the screen, so I need to move that across. Apologies about this. Okay, so this is what I'm looking for here. Okay, you will probably see a bigger screen on yours when you come to do it on your computer. So what we've got here now is a profile management box, okay, and we need daily profiles, weekly profiles, annual profiles. So we'll start off with daily profiles, and we'll make a new one. Go down to new. Now, it's called new daily profile. I would suggest that if you are making a new daily profile, every time you make one, maybe think about putting a unique name on it. So I'm just going to call this one working day. And we've got this graph over here which has the time of the day on it and then the modulating variable. So 0 on the vertical axis would be something would be completely turned off, or if we're looking at occupancy, it would mean there's nobody in the room, whereas 1 would mean everything is turned on, like lights and computers, and the room is occupied. And the time of the day then will tell you whether or not people are in there from 5 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning, whatever it may be. Now it's a little bit clunky to use this, so just have a look at what I'm about to do, and you might need to go over this a few times just to get your head around it. So over here we've got times of the day, and it's 0, which is midnight, and 24-hour clock again is midnight, so that's why it's going from midnight to midnight with a value of 0, and that's why we've got a flat red line across here. So let's have a look at changing this. So come over to the second line on here. I'm just clicking on the number 2 there, and I'm just going to do a right click. Sorry, what I need to do is select the number 2 by clicking on it and then go insert, and that will add in an extra instance that I can make some changes in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this here, 24 o'clock, change that to 07. So 7 o'clock in the morning, it's still off, everything is still off. I'm going to come down here to the 3 and I'm going to insert a new one, and what I'm going to do is change this new one to 7 o'clock as well, but this time I'm going to change the value over here by double clicking and highlighting. I'm going to change the value to 1. Now you'll see instantly on the graph something has changed. So what we've done is we've said that at 12 o'clock everything is off, at 7 o'clock everything is off, at 7 o'clock then everything gets turned on. So that's what's happening over here. Everything is turned off, and at 7 o'clock in the morning it's being turned fully on. So what we need to do now is we need to say, well, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon everybody leaves because it's the end of the working day. So we need to come down here to the number 4 and insert a new line and change this 24 to 17, and the value will also need to be changed to 1 because at 5 o'clock in the afternoon everybody is still in there. You can see now that the graph has changed. We need to add in one more new line now here, which is going to be also 17, but the value is going to be 0. We'll leave that at 0. So now what we've got is we've got 12 o'clock at night, there's nobody there. 7 o'clock in the morning, there's nobody there. But at 7 o'clock in the morning, everybody does arrive to work. They stay there until 5 o'clock, which is why the value is 1 over here at 5 o'clock. And then at 5 o'clock, the value also goes to 0 when everybody leaves. So now we've got a daily profile set up where everything is turned on from 7 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And we've called it working day. And I'm going to save that. What I want to do now is set up a weekly profile by dropping this menu down, and I'm going to create a new one. And where it says new weekly profile, we need to change that, because if you don't, you're going to end up with maybe 3 or 4 or 5 of them all called new weekly profile, and it could be very confusing to know which one is which. So we'll highlight the name there and we'll change it, and we'll call it working week. Now the working weekly profile, or any weekly profile, works off a pre-existing day profile. So over in this part of the menu here, you can see the various different day profiles. The one we created a few moments ago is called working day. It's this one here. Okay. So what we can do is we can quickly apply the daily profile to the week. So in this part here, you've got the days of the week. Currently it says always off. So in other words, this profile called working week, if we were to use it in our model, it would take it that there's nobody ever in there. Everything is completely off all the time, and that's not what we want. It's not realistic. So a quick way to change these, it says same profile for each day. We can leave that ticked at the moment, and if you double click on the one you want over here, all of them update to the same value here. And if I double click on this one, for example, daily intermittent day, they all get changed. So I want mine to be working day. Now the working week, I'm taking it to be Monday to Friday, and I don't want anybody in there on Saturday, Sunday or bank holidays. So what I do is I uncheck same profile for each day, select Saturday with a left click and double click always off, select Sunday, double click always off, select holiday, double click always off. So now I've got a profile called working week where for 5 days in the week the daily profile called working day is being applied, and at weekends and on holidays nothing is being applied. So everything, lights are turned off, computers are turned off, there's nobody in there, all that type of stuff. So we'll save that now, and we can close, click save there again. It's asking us, do we want to overwrite, and we go OK, and we can close down that. So now we've got a profile set up in here that we can apply to our new thermal conditions. So for example, heating profile, instead of having on continuously, if I click on the drop down menu now, I've got the new one we created called working week in here. So click on that. Cooling profile, instead of on continuously, I select working week. So in this drop down menu and in this drop down menu, you get the weekly profiles. So that's why we had to create one there a few minutes ago called working week. System we'll leave for the moment. Internal gains. Okay, so our internal gains are going to be split into different categories, and the same for air exchanges. They're quite straightforward as well. So we'll look at internal gains first of all. Now it's blank at the moment. There's no internal gains. So let's pretend we're going to have some people and some lighting and things like that in there. So you click on add. We've already got some system internal gains in here already, but there are ways to add in new ones. So for example, if I go to add internal gain here, we've got fluorescent lighting. Now again, if we click on that, We can change the type of it to machinery, cooking, computers, people, whatever it may be. Okay, so it's very simple. If you don't see anything on this list when you open up the computer, actually that's what I'll do. I'll remove all of these, right? So when you turn it up, when you turn it on first, you might only see one thing in there, okay, and it's fluorescent lighting in this case. We want to have units, sensible gain. Well, we'll change that to maybe 200 just to see what happens. And we've got the variation profile here. Okay, now the variation profile we want is the weekly profile that we're looking for. Okay, weekly profile. So here we've got fluorescent lighting, 200 watt gain. It's on the variation profile called working week, and we need to finally click this little box in here, just a left click, and it goes add to template. So here we're setting what the internal gain is, here we're setting the value for the energy, and here we're telling it what profile to use. And all of those things are no good unless you check that box, tick that box. So if I go OK now, this here, which was empty a few moments ago, now says fluorescent lighting, 200 watts, and it's on for the working week. So that profile we set up of everything being turned on at 7 o'clock in the morning and turned off again at 5 o'clock in the afternoon is being used to control the fluorescent lighting. So we'll add in a couple more. We'll add an internal gain, and you can see here when you add it, it copies the previous one that was in there. So we need to change that. So you can click on it, highlight it in yellow, and we want to change the type. This time we'll change it to, we'll say people. And usually you can either set it square meters per person or the number of people, and you might find it easier just to work with the number of people. So on this drop down menu, click on people, and number of people, it's defaulting to 10, so we'll change that to 2 just for example. The sensible gain, 90 and 60, they're okay. I mean, 90 is fairly standard. If this was something like a gymnasium where people were moving around a bit more, you might want to change that to something a bit higher, but 90 is okay for now. Variation profile, again, we want to use working week. We want the computer to think there's people in the room from 7 in the morning till 5 in the evening. Okay, so it's important you select that, and it's also important to check that box there. Check that box there. If you don't, it won't be applied to your profile. So we'll do one more now, and instead of having people, what we'll do is we'll make it computers, and we'll go with watts, and we'll change it to say 250 watts. And again, the variation profile needs to be the working week. So we've set it to computers, we set the amount of the gain, and we need to now check that box so that it gets applied to our template and go OK. And now we've got 3 things in here for internal gain. If I click on people, you can see that the number is 2 and the profile is working week. Check on computers, the consumption and gain is 250 and the profile is working week. The last thing we need to do on the thermal conditions is air exchanges. So we can add in here natural ventilation, 8 air changes per hour. Arguably high, but we can change that easily down here. If you want, you can change that to, we'll say, 4 air changes per hour. Natural ventilation is okay. There are options here for auxiliary and infiltration, but natural will do okay for now. The variation profile again needs to be changed to our working week, and again you need to tick that box in there which says add to template. Doesn't matter how accurate you've got this and you've got this, if you don't change, if you don't check that little box, it won't get applied. So go OK, and now under this we've got the air exchanges for our new thermal conditions. So in our room conditions, we've got the heating and the cooling set to the profile. We've got the internal gains set to the working week profile, and we've got the air exchanges set to the working week profile. So that is very similar to the construction template, but it's really just looking at what's going on in the room in terms of heat and thermal energy. When you've done that, you can just go save and then click OK to cancel out of it, and you're now at the point where you can think about running the Apache simulation. So again, there'll be links in the bottom of this video to ones that are relevant to it.